like to call this meeting to order. The June 25th agenda review. Ms. Bowie, would you please call the roll?
Good afternoon. Pete Wildebohr.
Here.
Melissa Mason.
Here.
Josie Barnhart. Pat Bradford.
I am here.
Stephanie Craybill.
Here. Here.
Hugh McManus.
Present.
And Stephanie Walker.
Here.
All right, we will have our invocation. Then I've asked Mr. McManus to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the New Hanover County Board of Education. And Father, I want to thank you specifically for Pete Wildebohr, for Melissa Mason, for Josie Barnhart, for Pat Bradford, for Stephanie Craybill, for Hugh McManus, and for Stephanie Walker. And Father, I would ask that you would give them great wisdom on how to lead the New Hanover County school system and all the different ages, on how to lead and care for the parents of the students that are in the New Hanover County system. I pray that you would give them wisdom on how to guide the administrators, the principals, the assistant principals, on how to lead and care for the teachers. I pray, Father, that you would give them not only wisdom, but great tact and tenacity and determination as they do their job. The ability to make tough and difficult decisions and then stand by those decisions. Father, I pray that you would bless each of them. I pray for unity and strength within the board. And Father, I thank you for our education system. I thank you for the freedoms that we love and enjoy in the United States. And I pray your great grace and your great blessing on this gathering. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. This is Pastor Michael Maddox from Saltbox Church, just giving an opening prayer for the school board. Thank you.
You, Mr. McManus?
Ready. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to everyone today. We do have quite a lengthy agenda review, and probably not quite as lengthy of a July regular meeting. But first I would need to approve the agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Did you second that, Ms. Walker?
Well, no, well, yes, but I would like to move something to, unless it's already been moved. No, I'd like to move the presentation. Should we just second it first and talk about it? I
We'll
forgot.
second, then we can talk about it.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, and then Ms. Walker.
Yeah, the presentation of the pre-K data is supposed to be on for next week. I know it's still on here, but it's supposed to be on for next week. So
Is there any,
Where is it?
it is on, it's on the one, it's on Part 6, number B, or Part B, letter B.
got it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be next week, the presentation of the district-wide data, which is different than the Head Start
6B? Okay, so you want to move that to next week?
to next week's meeting.
Is there any
I have
concern?
a question about that. But aren't we supposed to be getting our presentations during this meeting and not during the regular meetings?
True.
I don't know, but I know our subject matter expert was expecting it to be next week, and so she needs to be prepared. And typically it does get, I know we've changed stuff all around, but I mean, looking at this agenda, it looks like a regular meeting. So I think it's okay to go next week. I've already asked the chair and Crystal. So,
That's fine with me.
Is there
any
objection to it?
Objections?
Shouldn't we be hearing the,
I
oh,
move that we
sorry.
amend the motion to allow that to be moved this one time to the next meeting.
One time? Okay. All right, I'll second that, so, okay. All in favor of moving item 6B to next week's meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Carries 6-0. Ms. Mason.
I received an email 2 days ago from the Gifted Advisory Council. They are looking to amend part of their documentation, their bylaws, and they need our approval. So I would like to add the Gifted Advisory Council to today's under committee reports, if that's possible.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion?
Is this something that we need to have read ahead of time? 'Cause I'm a little concerned about some of the things we're going to be talking about, and
This was
just
not
wanna make
written
sure-
by me. It was written by,
I understand that, but you're bringing it forth. So is this something that can't wait till the regular meeting so we all have a chance to look at it?
They're looking, so I can read you the email. It said, "A nominating group met to select candidates to fill open positions on the Gifted Advisory Council for school year 24-25. During the May meeting, we had a brief discussion about adding an alumni seat to this council. During our meeting, we discussed following through with this idea for next year's membership. However, the current bylaws state that any revision of this document must be approved in advance by the New Hanover County Board of Education." If we have to put it off, I suppose we could, but so that they can get their process going, I'd like to move forward with it.
Thoughts?
Let's vote. I mean, I'm ready to vote. I'm fine.
Everybody in favor of adding that to today's meeting under committee reports, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carries 6-0. And just a clarification, the other, Ms. Walker, the district-wide pre-K data presentation, that would go under new business?
yeah.
New business, okay.
That's D as in dog.
B, the one that's right here on this one, B, is B.
That's Head Start grant
That's Head Start.
notification.
Okay, I've got.
Oh, did
What
it
I'm looking
change?
at,
Did
yep,
it
it
change?
changed.
Yep.
Boogers.
23,
I get you, because
24.
it was different on the other one.
Okay, so that's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have a,
And is there not an advantage for us to be talking about those together at the same time?
I'm sorry, talking about what?
We're going to hear something about Head Start today.
Yeah, but that's completely, that's different.
Well, it's not completely different
Well, we've already
because
voted,
if you
right?
look at some of
You voted.
if you look at the PowerPoint, Head Start is mentioned in that PowerPoint. So I'm just thinking that we should be talking about it all together at the same time rather than splitting it up.
I got you, sir, Mr. Chair, but we just voted to move it, so.
I'm good, but,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not
Okay.
good, but, and
Okay.
change my vote to no on both of those.
okay, so that's 5-1 and 5-1. At this point, we're going to move on. So we have an agenda, an amended agenda. We have a first and second on that. On the amended agenda, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay, that passes again 5-1. We will start as we have always, before I go on, I do want to thank Ms. Craybill for keeping up with her time today. I've already asked her to do that. Thank you, Ms. Craybill. We'll go through it. If you do need to stop, I do have a stop already on item J, but I will get to that. When we get to that, I'm going to start from the beginning. Call to order, roll call, approval of the agenda, invocation, national anthem, pledge. I was going to ask Ms. Mason to do that. If that's possible, Ms. Mason?
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I forgot all about it. I think when I talked to Crystal earlier, their legislative committee wasn't on there. Did I talk to you about that earlier, Crystal? And whether or not we wanted to give an update since Ms. Barnhart isn't here. I apologize. I just totally
Okay.
just thought about that. We can do it next week if you want to.
Are you prepared
She's
to
the
do one?
chair, she's the chair, but I don't
She's
think.
not here.
Yeah, okay. But if the board wants us to do one, I think maybe Ms. Bradford could probably cover it, what we did at legislative. We can have it
Well,
today
I
or
make a
next week.
motion that we add legislative under committee reports.
Chris is.
I'm sorry, Crystal?
I'm sorry, so legislative priorities have been added to the July regular board meeting under new business.
Okay.
Because the item that Ms. Barnhart had wanted Ms. Walker and Ms. Bradford to review are about the priorities, and that will take a vote.
Okay.
So therefore, it goes under
My
new business.
Okay,
apologies.
I
I
will.
didn't see it added.
It's already there.
We'll take that back out. Not a problem, no, absolutely not a problem.
So can you run that, I think I'm looking at the wrong.
Yeah, that's what, we
We're
got
in the
different
blue?
ones, that's why.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, this is the one we should be looking at.
Legislative priorities
The one that
are
Crystal gave us
under
is the one we should
new
be looking
business, item D. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
It's already there.
And so now we've moved over there, we've
My
moved,
fault.
Yes.
the
uh,
23,
board one.
24.
Yeah. They
Is that
are-
going to be E or D?
That will be E. Come on. Okay, recognitions, Dr. Barnes, 10 minutes, would that suffice?
Yeah, we'll be doing our administrative introductions for our new principals, but 5 minutes will be fine for me on that.
So you want to add 5 minutes?
No, I can get my part done in 5 minutes.
Okay, very good. Student voice, 10 minutes, teacher voice, 10 minutes. Superintendent's report, 5 minutes. My report, 5 minutes. Full audience, 60 minutes. Consensus items. And again, we'll go through each one of these. If you want me to stop, please stop me and we'll get more information. Now's the time to do that. Wilmington Health
Yes.
Access.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're going.
Okay. Wilmington Health Access for Teens Watt Agreement.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. McManus. Did you have your hand up?
No, I'll,
Oh, you're thinking, okay.
well, thank you.
Ms. Bradford?
I'm just curious, under the budget, or the agenda that was posted a couple of days ago, A, B, and K were all Coastal Horizon items. And it looked to me like B and K were the same content with different titles, so I need somebody to straighten that out for me.
I got you. So A is for the Wilmington Health Access for Teens health clinics that are in our 4 traditional high schools. B is a specific MOU for the provision of day treatment services that happens next door at Lake Forest Academy. Both of those are with Coastal Horizons as the entity that provides that support. And then K is a separate MOU for the provision of medication administration at Lake Forest Academy, because it can't be a part of the day treatment MOU because it involves another agency, which is the county's Health and Human Services.
Can you tell us the cost on those 3? I didn't notice them in there. What?
These are MOUs. There is no cost to
There's
the
no
school
cost to the
district.
school district.
No, these are partnership agreements, and there's no cost to the school district.
Thank you.
Okay. Carrying on, so there's other discussion on that. MOU with Coastal Horizons is B, we just heard about that. C, award for contract for waste and recycling removal.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
On C, award of waste and recycling removal, garbage is down 8%, which is really cool, down to $347,000. My question is to probably Mr. Anderson, are we recycling?
We are. There are recycling bins within the schools and then a recycling dumpster at each facility. Different trucks come and pick those up.
Thank you.
Award of contracts for child nutrition services. Award of contract for athletic field maintenance. Hometown ticketing agreement.
Mr. Chair, oh, you have that one too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just was curious, I know, got a couple of years ago, or maybe, I don't even know how long, we brought up the ticketing for sporting events. Is this just the same as it was? It's just renewal of the contract?
Yeah, this part is for the non-cash transactions, and so this has not changed.
Okay, just making sure.
So we are still taking cash in addition to the non-cash
Yes, that has
transaction?
not changed.
Okay. And on the point of sale, they're charging a 5% fee, where on the others it's a 2.5% or 3%. Any reason you know about why?
So the system creates that, whatever the point of sale charge is, and advance tickets are expected to be a less cost. So if you have specific questions, I'll get further details. I'm not the expert in all of the point of sale charges that they do, but I can figure it out.
I just think when the charges start coming in on people's cards, they're gonna want to know the answer to that.
So it's included at the point of sale, so they can see all of that. Because that's not something that we actually get to negotiate, and also it comes on the screen before they make the charge.
Any other questions? If not, Career and Leadership Development Academy, award of contract for lawn maintenance.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, we both did. You go first.
No, you go first.
So I just had a question, thank you. I had a question, it says the contract is for, it says in the front, 300 and, hold on, I'm getting to the front. Wow, it's a big one. 340, oh yeah.
602,000.
No, at the top here of the contract, it says, I saw 375,300, all inclusive of materials, labor, and tax, delivery and tax. But then later on, it says, has like a list of them. It says like, you said this one, 599, 880. I'm just wondering what. So the contract for lawn maintenance.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were on CDLA.
No, not for my
So
list.
the contract does have the individual sites
Yeah.
broken down.
Right.
Total contract is that, the number you just gave me, 375, 300.
Okay. I guess because if you go later on in the contract, it goes to prices, and then it says total price for 22-23 is 577, 440, and then 23-24, 24-25, it just goes up and up and up. So I didn't know what those prices were. I think it's on page 12 of 26, if that helps. Did you see that? Ms. Bradford?
Yeah, I have a couple more, I'm just curious, yeah.
All right.
Were you able to find it, Eddie? There's a bid form, and then it's got acceptance, contract terms, and then it goes on to say prices. And it's-
Online, it's on page 10.
Okay, thank you. It says 12 or something.
Yeah, I have that. The sites that are circled are the sites that were awarded to SAMS for the 24-25 school year. And so individually, they will total the 375, 300.
Okay, so we're just accepting the contract, not all the extra pages that go with it, because it does say something different.
Well, the individual sites, they are, they're listed. Yeah, I see where that's handwritten in there. But that number is not correct. I'm not sure what they were adding up there.
Okay.
And I can remove that from that page. But it's the items, it's the sites that are circled
Okay.
are the sites that we're awarding to SAMS.
Okay.
Bradford?
I just wanted to point out between E, award for the contract for the athletic field maintenance, and H, award for the contract of lawn maintenance, we're looking at $1 million for grass. Just wanted to point that out.
You remember you asked me a question about that? Are you running for
Long
board?
time ago.
Or you, $500,000, remember?
Someone's got to cut the
It's also a safety issue.
grass. It is.
I'm just pointing it out.
That's great.
I would point out for child nutrition services, it's $2.6 million in food, $303,000 for paper, and $412,000 for produce. I think the public needs to know what we spend our money on. Just think it's fascinating.
I'll let them read it.
We're going to carry on. If there's no more questions on that, we're on item I, MOU for school resource officers.
Me again.
Sorry. Ms. Walker.
I just had, I know we do this every year, and I don't think it's substantially changed at all. I guess my question is, I think I'd had questions from community members about additional training for being trauma informed, but also from Carousel Center. I know I had met with them, gosh, a couple of months ago, and they talked about how our district was well-trained. I know Ms. Crable's brought Carousel Center up before too, but they do a darkness to light training. I didn't know if we can incorporate that in here, because I think it would be very helpful. And if y'all don't know about that, I've got information in my bag to show you about what the Carousel Center does. According to them, all our staff is trained except for the school board, except you.
Which one are you talking about?
SROs, MOU.
Okay, so but what?
And I'm
why are
asking
we
about
putting
additional
the Carousel
trainings.
Center in there?
Yeah, well, just additional trainings, because I feel like,
No, I understand that, and I bring it up every time, is that that we could be the only one in the state if our board would just do it. But we have not committed to
that's
that.
correct, and they did bring that up with us, and I was gonna bring it up to you guys about that, because I think it would be awesome if we were all trained. But what I was trying to say is that they've got in here, I don't think they talk about that kind of training. And I didn't know if that's something that the sheriff might wanna entertain with the SROs, because I know a lot of the time they spend time in schools that,
Well, you mean having them go through this?
yes, yes,
Gotcha.
that's why
So
I'm
that-
bringing it
that,
up.
Now
The darkness to light, and Julie, you can jump into, that's not covered under this MOU. Now, we could approach the sheriff's department if their SROs would like to participate in that
Okay.
training, but.
You say it doesn't have to be part of the MOU?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'll just add in that in the past, so the SROs do a summer training, they do an onboarding, but they also do a routine summer training to get all of their continuing ed.
hours. And very consistently, whenever we have suggested a topic, they will add that into their agenda.
Yeah, so I would like, if you all are going to have those conversations, maybe trauma-informed from the Resiliency Task Force and also Care Society. Only because, I mean, an SRO is a police officer, but in a different environment, and I just think it would be good for them to be as trained as possible on that kind of stuff, just like we should be. So I just want to add that in there. I don't know if I need to, you know them already, but connect you with them.
Bradford? Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Two things. Number 7 in that memorandum, I just wanted to point out, to remind everybody that it says the SROs are not there to maintain discipline. But I have a question. Who's our person on this? Is it you, Julie?
Eddie and I are tagging
Okay.
this one as it's transitioning over to operations for security.
Okay. Can you talk for a minute about which schools get what in SROs? Because we all got an email just a few hours ago from a principal that says, you know, my SRO's been cut back, some other cutbacks, and it came in at the last minute as I was walking out the door, at least I saw it. And I'd like to know, you know, which schools have SROs, do they all have one? I just want you to go over that for us.
So I'm not aware of any change, so Eddie.
I'm not aware of any change. There may, now during the summer, they will change depending on what activities that, but if you can send that to me, I'll be glad to respond. And then in the weekly board packet, I'll give you a list of SROs per site.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just want to add one thing to Ms. Bradford's comment. I think I think, believe that school discipline is never up to an SRO officer. It's always up to the administration of the school. And I think that's when they step in is when it becomes a legal issue.
And we'll go back to Mr. Anderson for Jay. He's going to share a little bit at this time about that.
Thank you. Anita, could you pull up that site map? So on the July 2nd agenda, we have a change order to the construction management at risk agreement for New Hanover High School structural repairs. This is very much an ongoing project, and so I want to take the opportunity at the agenda review to really kind of give you a brief history of how this started, where we are today, and then what some next steps are. So the included in the 23-24 capital budget, there were structural repairs of $575,000, and there was building envelope waterproofing and exterior repairs of $470,000. So we have, since the budget was approved, we're working with a structural engineer and an architect. Structural engineer has been out and conducted a visual evaluation of the exterior of that building. Based on some of his initial findings and concerns, you'll recall that well, let me get you oriented. The way that's oriented on the screen, up is north, and then to the right, east, below is south. And what we're going to be talking about is the front of that building, the southern facing wall.
So Eddie, is the big right rectangle, that's Brogdon Hall, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We're looking at the building. The main building is the one that looks like a W.
A U, like a U, horseshoe?
A W.
W.
in the
W,
middle.
yeah.
Wildebohr.
Wildebohr.
Walker.
Walker.
So we then hired Monteith Construction Company as our construction manager at risk so that they could work hand in hand with the designer doing some destructive testing to better evaluate condition of the areas that were of most concern. The one area that we initially cordoned off was the southwest corner. If you've been out there lately, you'll see that that corner has fencing around it. And then we relocated the 3 classrooms that stack, you know, first, second, third floor, those 3 classrooms on that southwest corner as well. And we went in there and removed the sheetrock on the west wall. This was to get a better understanding of what was occurring and to help us in developing a scope of work for repair and cost estimates. We also went into the crawl space, observed the foundation from inside and outside, and observed that the footings along the southern facing wall have settled. And so the initial scope of work that we were looking at was to install micropiles along the front of the building, along the southern facing wall, just to make sure, we're not going to jack up the building, but we want to make sure before we do any repairs, above ground, that it's not continuing to settle. And then we would remove the brick on that southwest corner and replace it. As part of the continued evaluation, they removed some sheetrock on the south-facing wall of those 3 classrooms, and they observed from some gaps in the interior walls and the masonry. And I say gaps, but probably from the settlement where it just separated. We didn't see any large vertical cracks. We then had the engineer out. The engineer felt like we could use pressure-induced grout to repair that, but he was concerned about the rest of the wall. So we then went and took samples down the southern wall from east corner to west corner. And everywhere we removed sheetrock, we saw very similar conditions. So his recommendation is that we vacate that portion of the building and remove all the sheetrock, and then the repairs would still be the pressure grouting, but we would secure the foundation and then do the pressure grouting. So right now, I apologize that the change order is not attached. We had to make some last minute adjustments to that. And the dollar amount that's on your agenda packet is correct. It includes stabilizing the foundation on the southern wall down to the east and west facing walls where the in-classrooms are located. This would be scaffolding overhead to protect workers from being harmed, backfill excavation, seating, reinstalling sidewalks, etc. Shoring of the western wall so it doesn't fall when the foundation work is being completed, and then cleaning of the crawl space to remove a large amount of dirt and debris. This is necessary to place some steel angles along the foundation within the crawl space as part of the foundation stabilization. Removal of all sheetrock and plaster along the southern wall elevation from west and east facing walls in the in-classrooms, and stair scaffolding required to give contractors access to the building from the front lawn area. If you'll recall being inside New Hanover, there's a corridor that's right outside the main office, and it runs from the east stairwell to the west stairwell. We would block off all doors and access on the southern side of that corridor. We would fence off the front lawn for contractor access and laydown area for materials, providing a very good separation from school activities to construction activities. They would access the site from Market Street and access the contained construction area from the front of the building. They're prepared to start work immediately. That's what this change order presents. But I also want to tell you that this is the first step. This will stabilize the foundation and then uncover what's behind the walls, giving us a better idea of what's going to be required for a permanent fix. So we will be coming back at some point for additional funding. That's why I said this is very much an ongoing project. We do not anticipate at this point that the rest of the building will require this extent of repair. What we've discovered so far is that this is by far the worst of it. But I want you to be aware that this is very much an ongoing project. We're looking at different options to best provide additional classroom space for New Hanover while this work is going on. It will go into the school year, and the 3 floors equate to about 16 classrooms and offices. So I can't tell you at this point what we're going to do, but we're working very closely with Mr. Sutton and his team to come up with a plan, and I can bring that information back to you. We expect that this first phase will be 2 to 3 months, and then during that time, we'll come back to you, give you an update on what we found, the recommended repairs, and cost estimates for that. Any questions?
Questions?
Yeah, Julie, so are we, you said we're already working on contingency plans for if we find this, then we're going to do that, because this could have a significant impact for our student body.
Well, what we're doing is trying to come up with a plan to relocate classrooms and offices on that southern side. That's the extent of this first phase. So it wouldn't be a contingency plan. We would move them out entirely.
So will we have, will there be a construction site manager, a safety manager on site at all times? And who does that person report to in our school district? Would that be you?
That person reports to Monteith Construction Company.
Right.
It's their
Who they
safety.
liaise with then?
They would really, with our project management team.
Okay, and who is that?
Leanne
We don't have
Lawrence or
project
myself.
management team. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Bradford?
A couple of questions, follow up on that one. So how much of the front will the students not have access to, and will it be an active construction site? I think that's what she's asking. How much of the front, again, tell us that. And then you
So-
have a plan, and we are moving the students. It's not a, we're thinking about it, we're planning on it, we are. This is something that,
I don't know if we will move them off-site or we will provide some additional classroom space on-site, or exactly what that is going to look like. But we are looking at several options at this point, but we do not have a recommendation for you today.
so how much
So-
of that's going to be a construction site?
You see in front of the building, the 2 large green squares, that's the construction site.
So there'll be no access to the high school from the Market Street side by students?
Correct. They would use the east and west doors.
Would drop-off still be there, and volunteer and visitor parking will still be there?
Yes, ma'am.
With signage to just direct them around the building?
It would still be there, and with signage to direct them to the main entrance. We'll have construction entrance somewhere along there, but we'll have that readily identified as well.
So that will have like construction fencing around it?
Yes, ma'am.
So have we done a traffic plan there? I'm there every Monday morning watching, and there is like double parking, when people are being let out. And there's a lot of speeding and a lot of people going around, and if that's gonna be our construction entrance, then how are we gonna manage the traffic?
We can tell the contractor and dictate to them delivery times and schedules, so that the construction they wouldn't be construction traffic during morning arrival or dismissal.
Okay, because most of the time, I think most construction people want to start and get the traffic going, so
Right.
they're already getting in and out before our students are even.
Main thing is
waiting.
deliveries, and anytime we're working on an active site, we'll have that built into our contract. So we're not getting deliveries during arrival and dismissal.
Mr. McManus?
Thank you. It appears that we're always having to work with some type of dangerous repairs to New Hanover High School. Given it's 103 years old. But it's constant. And I worry because we don't say it's dangerous. But when we're telling the student body they can't use those classrooms because we've got to reinforce them, it's something all the time. So my question is, when are we going to make New Hanover a focus so that that school doesn't stand out as a school that's constantly having to be redone, fixed? But I want to make sure everybody's listening because,
Well, I think that that will be, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that some extent of renovations, additions, improvements to New Hanover will be included in a future building program. Whether that's a local school bond or how it's funded, I don't know. But I think that you all are aware enough of the needs that you would not leave that out of the program. The county commissioners and the community, the alumni, and the families and students that attend that school today, they're all very much aware. And I can't imagine any future program where it would not include New Hanover High School.
okay, thank you.
And I'll just say that, you know, there's, construction can be a dangerous activity, but we have built many buildings on active sites. We've demoed many buildings on active sites, and we've renovated areas within buildings you know, during school with kids on campus. And I think this is one of the best scenarios in terms of isolating construction and preventing any crossover of circulation or any possibility of students accessing the construction site or vice versa.
Any other questions? And we will be talking about it again next week, so it's definitely on the agenda. Carrying on then, thank you, Mr. Anderson. MOU between New Hanover County Board of Education, New Hanover County Health and Human Services, and Coastal Horizons. Memorandum between New Hanover County Board of Education, New Hanover County Justice Services Department.
Question,
Ma'am?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah,
I just have a question about that one.
Go ahead, please.
I didn't know, is this something new that we're working on, or is this just a re-up?
Yeah, it's a renewal.
Nothing to do with what the endowment just funded for the DA program? Okay.
No, no. This is for referrals for students as a part of our juvenile prevention, our juvenile crime prevention program.
Thank you.
MOU with the Lower Cape Fear Life Care, and then the pre-K MOU 2425.
There's no attachment.
Yeah.
Attachment for
So
the-
how are we going to approve that? If we haven't heard we're not hearing a report today, and we have no
Well, it's
attachment.
next week, so I guess we'll have something by next week, right?
Yeah. And my question would be, since it's pre-K, does this have anything to do with the endowment?
No, this one isn't.
Well, can we pull it off and put it into business since we don't have, we can't vote it on it in consensus when we haven't seen anything?
That's not on me.
It'll probably be moved, it'll be pulled off next week, won't it? I don't care where it goes on the agenda, I'm sure we'll talk about it.
We can
either way.
it's any business. Yes.
Well, you'll need to explain what's going on with that one. You know what, I know you're filling in, or is it Shannon who,
Shannon's here too.
Yeah.
Ms. Smiles?
Ms. Miles could come up.
I thought so.
He's here.
One minute.
I'm sorry, make you get up.
Yes, just to update
Yeah, you can-
on,
yeah.
if you'll update on letter N, the.
Okay, so the MOU with the pre-K slots for county commissioners, it's a drafted proposal that we sent to the strategic county planners, and they're adding their information. So it was a draft that basically we're waiting to hear from them on the agreement. To remain at our same sites. Very little change to the MOU. And what other questions do you have?
You're just saying, that's for the county fund positions, this agreement? Right.
The MOU is for the pre-K county commissioners partnership agreement.
And that's the 12 schools that they approved the
Yes,
funding
ma'am.
for?
When do you think we would be able to see that MOU?
We're hoping very soon.
Do you,
We have a draft.
do you think they'll have it back to us by the board meeting?
That's our hope. We're
Okay.
hopeful that by July 2nd, with the collaboration and the input with both agencies to meet the needs of both agencies, they're working on it as we speak.
As Ms. Mason just reminded me, if we don't have it by then, we can take it off.
Yes.
Do it later on, so. Good point.
Yeah.
So
July
are we going to
2nd
move it
is our
from
hope.
N to new business?
No problem in doing that. Would you-
Well, we can't vote on it if we don't have it,
Right.
if we haven't read it.
Okay, so I have no problem. I'll second that. Why don't we move, all in favor of moving the pre-K MOU from consensus item to new business, please say, and making it letter F, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so F is now the pre-K is what we had planned. Pre-K MOU, okay.
Yeah.
Carrying on. Thank you, ma'am. Policies for first reading, Ms. Mason?
Well, policy consensus is first.
There's policy
sorry.
consensus.
No,
There's
sorry.
a number of policies that we passed. And then we have, I believe, 2 new policies for first reading. I don't foresee them taking more than 15.
Okay.
Mr. Osborne? So I wanted to just throw something out there first. And I'm going to apologize to all of the constituents in the county. I won't be here at the July 2nd meeting in order to make my case there, so I would like to bring it up now, if I may. In policy 2230, the board committee, the policy committee passed by a vote of 2-0 what is posted, but what they did not pass was that wording that I had suggested, and I had sent you a copy of this. Additional members of the safety committee and subcommittees include a superintendent-appointed subject matter expert and staff members from at least operations, student support services, and human resources departments, as well as a school and parent representative from each grade level, elementary, middle, and high. And the committee did not want to have a subject matter expert assigned to our teams, and did not want to have parents or principals, even though principals at the meeting asked for that privilege to be on that. So I know we're not voting on that now, but I wanted everyone, all board members, to hear it at the same time, so I didn't have to call everybody. With that, also too, with that policy in B7, where it says Head Start, could you click on that for us, Anita, please? Policy, the policy, 2230. Okay, so what I was just talking about was in number 4, and we did not see, in the second paragraph, what I read to you was excluded. So that's where that would go. In number 5, we got that done. B7, under Head Start Board of Directors. Okay, so and I had suggested that we put in parentheses when applicable, because if we're not having Head Start, then do we even need this committee anymore? So when applicable might be a better terminology there. And then scroll down, please, to letter E. Number 5. So it did get changed. We just need to make sure that that is hyperlinked, because in the original one, it didn't say universal committee. It said it had application. All right, so that was my biggest one, is that, you all will have to discuss at the board meeting if we want to have parents and principals and a subject matter expert assigned to our team. And then to go along with that, if you could pull up for me, Anita, the universal application or committee interest form. So filled in the Ms. Bowie's phone number, so people would know what to do. change the email address to board committees so that it can go to one central location and it can be, managed with that. And we can also consider doing a Google Sheet, a Google Doc, so that we can actually store it electronically and have it easily sortable, for that. And that's just, that's a procedure. That's not, I wouldn't suggest putting that in policy. And then just scroll it on down to the very bottom, please. Safety committee, and I proposed we also add underneath there which safety committee, subcommittee, because we have 3 subcommittees. And so how would a person know what they're signing up for if we have that? And so we don't have to do head shaking while we're sitting here. That I'm just saying that those are things that we need to talk about. And I won't be able to talk about them with you, but I do have copies of my suggestions so that folks can read those.
Thank you, Ms. Grayler.
And then one more policy. This is just again, clarification, 3440, we had made changes to that, and it still doesn't line up, correctly. So if we could just have, maybe Ms. Kadetsky take a look at making that look good. So it lines up, all of our margins and things line up. Like, see where it says where we struck out A and then started, and we put A in to students in grades, blah, 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 and the whole thing, just doesn't line up.
Are you saying you don't want it inset?
Just a formatting issue.
I don't think, it's formatting. I mean, I don't think that we need to, I don't necessarily think we need to indent it because it's just a whole new paragraph.
I think that was there because.
Or call it number 2.
We're showing what changes I think were made, and I think that was just directly
Yeah,
transferred
but
over.
just for formatting purposes, if we could take a look at that, those would be, but I don't think, they may take 15 minutes because the rest of the board may have opinions on how the safety committees look, and if the public and staff, has the opportunity to apply for those committees.
Okay.
Ms. Mason, do you have any more on that? Okay, so we'll leave it at 15 minutes. That sounds good. Old business climate survey. How long do you think that'll be, Ms. Walker?
Sorry. I'd like to say 20, unless you think 25 is better. I mean,
25?
It's not, obviously, there's a lot there, but so I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'll just go do an overview.
Okay.
I mean, if we don't need 25, we won't do 25, but just in case.
It's always good to have a little extra.
So is this an update, overview, or will there be an attachment?
Yeah, there will be an attachment.
And that
it
will be coming?
it will be a presentation.
Okay.
And then life back, Ms. Mason?
This has been brought forward to us several times, and so I just kind of wanted to discuss what it looks like for us to be able to get it, if we decide to get it, the logistics. So I would say 10 minutes.
Yes, okay. All
So,
right, new business.
I had some questions about the life back. So I know we've talked about this before, and my computer is swirling with my notes. I had a question about who is paying for any of the life back apparatus, that we need to have that clarification, and who on New Hanover County Schools is going to be managing that. Like, is that another thing that Student Support Services has to do with less employees? Or is that, who's monitoring that? Like, to making sure that they have all the parts that they need, and they're kept up to date, and they get the training, and then how is it being paid for?
I'm sure in the discussion, it'll be all those questions. If you have questions, I would get them together and.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not going to be there, so
I
I
know,
will
but I
forward them
mean-
to everyone. I just want to say them out loud.
That's cool.
Okay.
Just forward your questions, I'm sure we'll get the answers for you. Okay.
Very good. Carrying on with Ms. Walker again, New Hanover High School.
Yes, sir. Me again. Yeah, it's a busy month. I will just say, I would love for us to have a robust discussion about the state of this school. I know, I think Eddie and I and maybe the advocates contributed to an interview about the school. I think the last, I don't know what you call it, Eddie, it's assessment of the school, whatever it's called, you guys call it.
You're referring to the master plan?
Yes, the master plan was done in 1999, which is 25 years ago, and it's terrible. And I think we as a board need to elevate the discussion on it, because I know we, as Eddie had said earlier, need to have these discussions with our commissioners, because they're the ones that will help us figure that out. And I think the assessment that we gave, or we had heard, was like $90, $100 million for the repairs of that school, and that's something we cannot do, and that's something that they have to help us with. So I just want to elevate the conversation, and I think we're going to have some, I don't know if all of us have met with the PTO over there, the advocates. They're going to come and talk to us a little bit, and I just think we just should have a discussion. I would give that 20 minutes. It might go a little over, I don't know.
Let's say 25.
Okay,
And will we have an attachment that we can all look at?
yep, I told Crystal I'll make sure we got them all. Well, I've already sent one, which I think was already a file that Mr. Anderson had, but I've asked the ladies to get that to us by Thursday. So it's 48 hours, we have to have it posted, because the public has to see it. So.
Mr. McManus.
Thank you. I'd like to add to that. I've met with advocates several times. Had one meeting with Ben David, Major Sappho, and both advocate ladies will be coming to our next meeting. We beat this drum as hard as we can beat, and I'm just going to say it again. We're ignoring New Hanover High School. From my heart, but they need all the attention we give them. And Eddie does a great job of painting a picture that we can fix it. I understand that. But we're dealing with something that borders on safety all the time. And it's not going away. Or I'll challenge you to tell me it is going away. You said yourself, which I appreciate your honesty and your integrity. Trust me. The worst is at the front. We're about to jack up the whole building. That's not real simple. So I just hope that we will focus on trying to do what's best for New Hanover High School. We've been trying to do this forever. And only this board and hopefully the county commissioners as well.
Absolutely. We need their help, sure. Mr.
So,
Walker?
I just had one last thing, I'm sorry, Mr. Grable. I just, because I'll forget it. The advocates have been meeting with various folks, including county commissioners, so they're well aware of at least the initial conversations on it. But I think it's very helpful to have a full, robust discussion in public about it, because the more we talk about it, the more it gets attention. And it is, to Mr. Mann's point, it's becoming a safety issue. I had a weird dream about it last night. I don't even talk about it. But I'm like, it's concerning to me. Like, as a person that went there as well, it was bad then. I mean, there were cracks all up front of it. And if, the last time that they had a really good assessment was in '99, that's a quarter of a century, y'all. That's just too long to leave a school like that. It's already causing problems potentially for moving students around. So that's all I wanted to add. Sorry, Mr. O'Leary.
Bradford, then Mr. Grable?
Mr. Anderson, am I correct that school is built on a sand dune? And from the last time I was over there was graduation night, and we were in the parking lot, and we were talking about it with some of the staff, and they said everything slopes to Market Street. And if it's built on a sand dune, 100 years ago, they weren't engineering sand dunes like they are now. So is the estimate that this will always be a problem? Will it continue to want to, slide into Market Street?
Well, I've heard a lot of different stories, from swamps to creeks to rivers and sand dunes, so I'm not exactly sure what it was built on at the time. But I do know that even back in 2000, we knew there was some settlement on the interior, and we did some pressure grouting under the slab, and then we installed monuments, and we've gone back as frequent as a year ago and measured that and compared it to the data from 20 years ago, and it's not sinking. So there wasn't any pressure grouting or micropiles put along that front foundation, which is why we have to do that now. So, your discussion about the needs, we are actively pursuing funding to update our master plan. I would say that, and my vision for that is twofold. That we would get in and, dig into every nook and cranny and behind every door and in every piece of equipment to identify exactly what we have there and what the condition is. And then there was a more visual master planning process that would involve families, yourself, community, much like we did with Isaac Bear, where you go through several visioning sessions to develop, an overall plan for that school, and then we would carry it forward from there with developing scopes of work and cost estimates. But I think that's really what needs to happen first.
Thank you.
So did I hear correctly that we are inviting the advocates to come and speak?
Yep.
Has that been approved by the chair? Because we don't, I'm not trying to be obstinate, but please let me finish. I'm not trying to be
I'm
obstinate.
answering your question.
With that, because I've met with them as well, and their voices deserve to be heard. But if we are in keeping with the way normal protocol, then we're inviting other people to talk, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute about some other things we're not inviting people to talk. So I just want to make sure that we're all clear that we are inviting people to talk, and that you are going to allow that.
Ms. Walker?
Well, that was addressed to you, but Mr. Chair, is it okay if the advocates come? I think we already had the discussion beforehand when I asked for it to be put on the agenda.
I think they've spoken to each one of us anyway. So
Yes.
I think just let them.
Yep.
Mr. Anderson, do you have a problem with them coming in and speak?
No, I don't. I've met with them several times. We've actually partnered and done some work over the summers, and I think, as the name suggests, they're a good advocate group for New Hanover High School.
I think we're in as I would agree with Mr. McManus, I think we're in a desperate place with New Hanover, so I think it's,
And again, I'm only asking because other groups have asked, and I don't want anybody to feel like they've been discriminated against because they were not allowed to speak.
thank you. All right, we will continue, let's see where we are at. Hill Street resolution? Hill School.
This was brought about by some concerns that some parents had reached out. I just wanted to have some discussion with the possible resolution of how we can work between the district and the Hill School, whether we adopt a resolution or whether we find another avenue. And so I figured that'll be 15 minutes tops.
We're currently working with them, and I don't necessarily know if you need a resolution. What we're working with, as I was sharing earlier, is that making sure that, so for instance, if a kid is, by law, they have to be there half the day in order for them to be considered a student. If not, they're considered a visiting student. If they're considered a visiting student, we don't get ADM for that. Parents choose to do that, that's fine. We just don't get funding for them. And the other part is if a child is gone for 3 hours out of the day, and we're working all this through the Hill School, what class, so if it's a class, then the parent has to be okay with not getting a grade in that class that they missed, because the teacher cannot assign a grade for a class that they were not there. So I get this, but we're working also, so if I just want us to, if we can just slow it down to make sure that we don't get ahead of them. Dawn Brinson is working with the director there, and so that's what we're working on right now. But we've got to put some things in place just to make sure that we are covered on their side, and parents understand what our responsibilities are, and we're understanding what, if they are visiting, that looks differently for us. And so there was negotiation. There was conversation on if we can have them at the beginning of the school day, because then you can get the 3 hours in versus taking them at the second part of the day, then they don't get the full 3 hours in.
Ms. Cradle?
Yeah, so again, some of my concerns were, Dr. Faust just mentioned, but per our policy 3105, we don't allow partial day enrollment for homeschool students to come. So to me, this is like another partial school day situation. making sure, of course, if we are going to allow it, then, how does Power School account for that? And I am very concerned about the standard course of study not being taught and not being met, that we are allowing a competitor of ours to teach what they think is the standard course of study, and we will be assessing them through EOGs based on what we are teaching in our schools. So that, to me, is a huge flag for allowing this to happen. And then I guess I have a question, of Dr. Faust or Julie. Can the school system not address these needs of these students? I mean, don't we have professionals that can teach students with dyslexia and put it in an IEP or not, but, differentiation in the classroom? I'm just concerned, why would we send kids away?
So we wouldn't be sending them away if a parent chooses to take their kid and.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's what I'm answering. So that's where we stand. And I've shared with the team, if the parent chooses to take their child there, we just need to make sure that we're following policy and general statute, that in order to get the not visiting, but the ADM for them, that they're there 3 hours of uninterrupted. And so that's where we are. But if a parent chooses to do it, the parent has the right to take their kid and do that and then bring them back. It would be considered an excused absence because it is, or lawful absence, because the parent is taking them to an educational facility.
So, can I follow up? Okay. So in the old policy that we had, 8,500, that we did back in 2014, a long time ago, and we switched over to this one, there was a form that parents had to fill out. It was in the parents' handbook, that they had to attest that they knew this was happening. And I'm just wondering, so we would have to modify a policy, and I'm wondering what policy you are referring to when you said we have to follow policy. So what policy are you referring to, 3105?
I'm referring to general statute.
Okay.
Sorry, the general
Okay.
statute. And so stating that in order for us to get ADM for the student, the 3. But again, just like if a parent wants to have outside whatever speech pathology services, and we can give them to them, but if they choose to do it, that's their right. They do have that right to do it.
I hear that. All right, so if a parent says, if we want to go that route, I would think that we would want to have a policy about that and not backdoor the policy procedure by having a resolution to go around that. Because I think we would need to designate who's going to manage this. Like let's just say that, Stephanie's parents say she is out. And so then who approves the exodus? Is it Student Support Services? Okay,
Principal. It's all done at the school, the principal.
Okay, so,
And Mrs.
all right,
Grable, I'm going
okay,
to talk to Dave.
hold that thought about the principal, because that's going to be an important issue.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Mason.
Policy 4400 is mentioned. That's the attendance policy that this is referring to. My question was for Dr. Faust. What kind of time frame are you looking at for these negotiations with Hill School and working through that?
We've been working on it since May. I want to say May. Dawn is out, and so she would be able to give a better update on where they are. But I know we were at the point where she was talking with the director over at the Hill School, and they were working on some time, so it was down to some of the ending of it.
So, can I follow up? So I would be able to reach out to Dawn to ask her about that information?
Well, our goal was to make sure that it was in place at the start of school.
Okay.
That's where we are.
Ms. Bradford and Ms. Walker.
The Hill School helps students with a learning disability called dyslexia. And I believe I'm the only member of this board that would have had that diagnosis if they'd had it when I was in school. The environment at the Hill School is amazingly supportive. I am 100% in favor of this resolution. It would not hurt to have it while the staff is working on that. And I would urge you guys to pass it. If you've ever struggled looking at people and not being able to remember their name, looking at a column of math and not being able to add it, not being able to read, it's a pretty devastating thing. And the Hill School does an amazing job, taking nothing away from what our school district does. But the Hill School does an amazing job. And if parents want to take their child there, we should not penalize that child or that family.
Walker?
Mr. Chair, I'm obviously in favor of supporting parents that want to do the best for their children. That's not the issue. I think for me, I would like to, one, make sure we're following state law, because that's what we're required to do. I don't want our schools to lose any more money, because we can't. And I would like to see some outcomes, you know. It's just fair, because I'm a data person. I would like to see, you know, because, I mean, obviously, we as a Board of Education here are here to advocate for our school district.
Well, I'm familiar with Hill School, certainly. I've worked with the director for many, many years at Cape Fear Academy. And they do have a part-time Hill School now at Cape Fear Academy. And then in the afternoon, they weave them back into the regular classes. My argument's not with the Hill School. My argument is just make sure we're following whatever we're supposed to follow. And it doesn't come back, because there's been a 180 overnight. But I can't argue about the program whatsoever. But I just want to make sure we're all playing out the same.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back around to what Dr. Faust said, that I do know that principals make that choice on whether a student can be released. So what happens if Principal A says, yeah, sure, go ahead, and then and then Principal B says, no, I'm not going to let you go? Are we setting who's going to manage that?
But Ms. Craybill, that's not how it works. Like if we set up a program with Hill School, it's not you go, you can't go. There will be paperwork that follows. And so it's not just a parent who comes and says, my child's going to Hill School. There's documentation that follows with it. There are meetings. It's behind the scenes of what happens. The only thing that we're really concerned about is visiting student versus a full-on ADM. The others will be definitely covered.
And we're not concerned about the standard course of study being taught?
If a parent has the fiscal responsibility to do that, whether we give it to them or not, they're going to do it.
Right.
So what I'm saying is it's up to the parent. There are rules and regulations in place for parents to do it. And I'm not sure that, I can't say that what I would do for my child is better for them. If a parent feels that that's what's right for their kid, who am I to argue with them? If they're taken to a school, a setting, and say this is what they're getting, they see it, I can't argue with that to say what is right or not. I don't have any data from that school to compare. I don't know what they do with that school, but I do know if a parent is saying, until we are proven wrong, and we can say, hey, ma'am, sir, this is what it looks like, we can offer these services. But if a parent has the response, because they have to get their kid there, they have to bring them back, or actually take them from our school. We're wanting to take them in the afternoon so that we can get all of we typically do literacy at the beginning of the day.
So then I think we need a policy that says that and not a resolution.
I think what we would need is just, there are things already in place. Because you're going to start, if you start naming Hill School, you name this school, you're going to start, it's going to get too
The policy
far.
doesn't have to name Hill School.
But
The
what I'm
policy can
saying
name
is
whatever.
that you don't have to name everything. There are procedures that we follow. That's what I would say. The schools that have the students who are going, we will definitely know who they are, and we will be able to walk them through the procedure. And that's just like going to get my kid out of school and say that they are going to physical therapy or a doctor's appointment. There's policies already in place for me to go get my child and take them.
But they're not doing that every single day as part of their curriculum. Sorry.
I have numbers that I've received. I'm just curious to know if they have changed. Do we know how many students from New Hanover County that take part in the Hill School program?
I don't have those numbers right in here.
I had that number in my head, but I've forgotten it. If you read the resolution, it does have some data in it. And I will direct your attention to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The sixth whereas, the end of the third line. Over 95% of Hill's Learning Center's high school graduates go on to college. compared to the national average rate of 40%. 95% go on to college compared to 40%. The average student gains full benefits within 3 years and typically transitions back to his or her school full-time. They've been established here since 2008. A number of students have come through this program with rave reviews and really good outcomes.
Okay. We will carry with, that was all the, we're going to talk about it next week
Yeah,
anyway.
no, but
so-
thank you for allowing me to give my input.
So that was 15 minutes there. Literacy update, Dr. Faust?
Yeah, I'll have information for you at the board meeting.
About how long?
I would say 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
All right. Legislative, Ms. Walker, Ms. Bradford?
We're doing that today? No.
No, apparently it's next week.
How much time did you say, Dr. Faust?
I've got notes that I took. I mean, they're not the best notes, but I mean, we can just talk about the meeting and what we talked about, and then whatever notes I have, I can bring up.
How long?
I would say 5 minutes. I don't think we need that long.
I
What do you think?
Chair Barnhart has notes for us,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
All right.
I
And
think
then-
she's got notes prepared for us.
We've added the pre-K as E. So about how long would that be? Let's see. Sorry?
Smiles will know. I think she had a presentation that's kind of uploaded. She might want to, is she here? Oh, she did. She'll be right back.
Okay, well, we'll leave that open right now. We'll come back to it. And then we had
The MOU.
The MOU. How long? That's F.
If that is, if the information's in it, we will, of course, upload it. And that'll be just like all of the other MOUs that are there.
Okay, so maybe let's say 10 minutes, make sure. Okay. Not sure if we'll need a closed session. Correspondence, 5 minutes. Announcements, 5 minutes. Ms. Craybill?
Hold on.
And we do have, we're probably, let's put down 10 minutes
For break time?
for
Okay.
the pre-K. And if it's more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that way they were not sitting waiting.
And I'm going to add like 5 minutes or 10 minutes in for a break.
Right, sounds good.
Okay. All right, 200. 4 hours and 33 minutes, 4 hours and a third, so 4 hours, 20 minutes. And that's with no closed session.
All right, so again, as I said last month, do we want to
There she is. I'm gonna ask her.
delete some stuff? Not delete, but put off till August meeting? Or do we want to just vote now to go over the 4 hours? I mean, I don't want to do what we did last time and try to rush through a few things. We have a policy that says 4 hours. We're, as by Ms. Crable's counting. Ms. Miles, about how long do you think the pre-K presentation will take? 10 minutes. Hey, there we go. That's great minds think alike. That's what I said, about 10 minutes. Okay, so we're at 4 hours and a third. Do we want to look at things we could postpone until August? Or would we rather try to, or just agree that we're going to go over the 4 hours?
How much urgency is there in the life back under old business? We've allowed 10 minutes there.
Since this has been coming up for quite some time,
True.
I don't want to keep kicking it down the road.
I think it's only 5 minutes for that.
I think New Hanover's obviously something we need to stay on.
Ms. Mason, you've got 15 minutes for policy. Do you think it will take full 15?
We can do 10 for that.
Okay, so we'll take 10 minutes for the policy.
You want to take life back to 5?
We can do life back to 5.
Yeah.
Life back from 5, so take 5 minutes off of that, that's 15. We save, or actually 10 we save.
So the legislative priorities, do we need to do that? Can we put that off?
We
Ms.
could.
Barnhart can
I
do
mean,
it in
she could
person.
do it herself when she
Yeah.
gets back.
Okay.
There you go. Just
All right, let's remove the legislative, or not remove, yeah, remove, postpone.
So that's
the
20, that
legis-
takes off 20 minutes.
Postpone, okay, so yep. What else can we,
That gets us to 4 hours.
okay, we're at 4 hours, okay, very good. All right, 4 hours, very good, we will carry on with that. Looking at today's schedule, thank you, board members, for getting us through that. On my paperwork, there we go. Our next item is a closed session, make sure I'm correct on that. Very good, it is a closed session. I would entertain a motion to move into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143, 318, 11. For the following purpose is to prevent disclosure of information as privileged or confidential pursuant to General Statute 115C, 402, and not considered public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes, to consult with attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and board, including in respect to John Doe's 15 through 17 versus New Hanover County Board of Education, and Jennifer Smith versus New Hanover County Board of Education, and to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual employee or considered for employment with the school system, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, grievance, or by or against any individual employee. Is there such a motion? Thank you. Is there
Mr.
a
Chair,
second?
I will second, but I'd like discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
It's come to my attention that it is your intention to have the Crosley Law Firm present to us in closed session today, and I would like to register my opposition to this in the minutes. Whatever the Crosley Law Firm, who is not yet our law firm, whatever they has to say to us should be done in open session. You have noted to us that they will address us on some kind of conflict of interest, with them representing us in another party in a lawsuit at the same time. I have 2 points to point out there. 2 months ago, we had 3 law firms present to us in open session to let us know their qualifications to represent us as a board. If any of those 3 had a conflict of interest whatsoever, that would have been the time and the place to disclose it to the board, and not now. Before I was elected to this board in 2022, there had been a significant unnecessary community distress over perceived conflict of interest with the Tharrington Smith Law Firm and their representation of both us and the insurance company in the John Doe lawsuits. While not always a legal violation, things do get muddy when lawyers represent both sides of a legal battle. And since that time, we as a board have been scrupulous in not allowing any conflict of interest, real or imagined, to be overshadowing our legal representation in these heartbreaking John Doe lawsuits, as well as other legal matters. We have deliberately not permitted any ground for accusation of conflict of interest. Now we're told that we have to go into closed session to hear about one of these law firms on a possible conflict of interest. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we have the Crosley presentation and our discussion and any possible vote here in open session, to be completely open and transparent with the public, as we should be.
And we need a supermajority at this point to amend the agenda. Is there, first off, is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, first and second.
Discussion on that.
Go ahead.
We have, I made the same request about Title IX a couple meetings back, when Mr. Vogel was insisting that we go into closed session to talk about Title IX, when we should have been talking about that in open session. So not to say 2 rights make a wrong, but, and I don't recall any discussion about that we were talking about anything else, with the Crosley Law Firm. So I don't know if Ms. Bradford has information that the rest of us don't have, and that makes me a little bit nervous and uncomfortable with that. So yeah, we've had several opportunities for not following our procedures correctly with that. So I am in favor of just doing what we said and not voting to change the amendment.
Okay, and again, we will need a supermajority, which would be out of 6 of us, 4 of us, to say that we want to amend the agenda to as Ms. Bradford said.
Actually,
Yes, go ahead.
the agenda just says we have to have closed session. So,
Well, she's wanting to add something before it, so.
oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm with you.
so-
Sorry.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
is our attorney present? May we ask his opinion on this?
We're going to go ahead and
Present.
vote on this at this time. Ms. Bowie, would you please call the roll?
Which one are we voting on?
We're voting on whether or not to amend the agenda to add this open discussion.
Mr. Chair, may I be heard first?
No, sir. No, sir, we're going to vote on it at this point.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. McManus?
Yes.
Mr. Wildebohr,
No?
Ms. Walker,
No.
Ms. Bradford,
Yes.
Ms. Graybill.
No.
Okay, that's defeated. So we will go back to the original motion, which is the motion to go to closed session. All in favor of moving to closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carries 6-0. We are in closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I do want the minutes to reflect that motion.
We are in closed session.
Closed session.